It's Fan Fiction Friday, and we've got some different names to talk about. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, December 19th, 2025. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Tidy Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who have been covering the team for over half a decade. And today it's Fan Fiction Friday, the show where you submit your Mariners trade ideas, and we grade them on the 20/80 scale based on creativity, uniqueness, and if they make sense for both clubs. Before we get into this week's trades, though, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, kicking us off here on Fan Fiction Friday is Mariners fan 2412, who has a deal here with the Chicago White Sox. Lenyn Sosa, Mike Vasil to the Mariners for Felnin, Celesten, Peete, Teddy McGraw.
Yeah, it's interesting. Vasil certainly does some things the Mariners like out of their relief core. He throws from that, about 30-degree arm angle, which seems to be the sweet spot for the Mariners. He gets a ton of ground balls, which the Mariners love, even though their infield defense isn't very good. He does a pretty nice job avoiding the barrel and all that, but he does not get any swings and misses out of the zone. He really doesn't get that many whiffs. It's below average whiff rates, and he walks quite a few guys. So there are some red flags there. Typically, if you walk a lot of guys, you want to make up for that with strikeouts. But he's 27th percentile in K percentage, 5th percentile based on ball percentage. But he does, sinker, sweeper guy, which we know the Mariners love, and you get him for 5 years. So there is value there. It's just, more of a middle guy right now who you're kind of hoping takes the next step. Sosa is interesting. He had a pretty good year at the plate. Now, Sosa, unfortunately, for the Mariners side of things, dude doesn't walk at all. He refuses to walk. He's actually a pretty even splits hitter, so he doesn't have a heavy split problem. But if you're acquiring Sosa, you probably want him to mash lefties. That's kind of where his fit would be, and he just doesn't. He's fine against both righties and lefties. Hits the ball pretty hard, but nothing incredible. He just chases a lot, and that's kind of a big problem. And he doesn't walk. 3.3% walk rate. He also not a very good defender. So he played a lot of first base last year as well. So the whole Sosa as a bench player is fine. But he doesn't really have an easy fit on the roster because he doesn't crush lefties. But the standalone numbers are pretty good. He had 22 homers last year. He had a 727 OPS. He had 264. But he doesn't walk. He chases a lot. And the exit velos are good, but they're not great or anything like that. And he doesn't really defend, and he's not a good base runner. So, to give up Felnin, who might be an elite prospect, for two guys who one's probably more of a middle reliever right now, and one is a bench player without a super clear path to helping you. It feels a bit heavy on the Mariners side of things. There's just not a lot of impact coming back in this trade for Seattle. A couple, nice pieces that you would love to have, but not for Felnin, I don't think.
No, not for Felnin. And Sosa is not a offensive profile that the Mariners covet at all. 3.3% walk rate, only got on base at a 293 clip. And while he has, 554 plate appearances this past season, that says, he's a league average hitter. He also has over 500 plate appearances to say that he's well below average. So who exactly is he? And will that power actually translate to T-Mobile Park? On top of that, Vasil to me is just a guy right now. Could he be more than that? Sure. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and the Mariners are very good at, getting extra out of a lot of arms, but or getting more out of arms. But I'm not trading Felnin Celesten for this. No, not at all. So I'm gonna go because it's two names that we haven't really talked about, Sosa and Vasil. You get a boost for creativity. You get a boost for uniqueness, but probably landing somewhere here in like the 40-45 range.
Yeah, I think Peete and Teddy McGraw without Felnin would push you to like a 50. I don't know if there's much incentive for the White Sox to do that. They could just wait. These guys have plenty of club control, and if Sosa does improve, if Vasil does lower his walk rate, they might be able to get a little bit more than this. So maybe like the comp round B pick in those two prospects, maybe. But Felnin is just a little bit too much for me. But again, yeah, a couple guys we haven't really talked about, and on the surface they do make some level of sense for the Mariners. So I'll give you a 45. It's an overpay, and there's just not much incentive for the Mariners to do it. And if you take out Felnin, there's probably not a ton of incentive for the White Sox to do it either. But not bad.
Yeah. All right, next trade comes from Ham Swaggerty 69, Luke Raley and Michael Morales to the Royals for Steven Cruz, right-handed reliever.
Yeah, another name that we haven't talked a lot about. Steven Cruz is like you said, a right-hand reliever for the Royals. Was okay last year. Does a lot of things the Mariners like. He throws very hard. 96th percentile in average fastball velo, 98.2 miles an hour, 33-degree arm angle. That's like right on the line for what the Mariners really like in their relievers. He's a big guy. He's 6'7", so he gets down the mound, 78th percentile in extension, elite barrel percentages and hard hit rates. Very good xERA. Like the underlying numbers say that there's more here. Doesn't get a lot of chases, doesn't get a ton of whiffs or strikeouts, and the walk rate is still a little high for a guy who doesn't miss more bats. So this is another like middle relief type that the Mariners probably hoping they can get more out of. If they did, my hunch is that they would tell him to throw the slider more. But even the slider doesn't get a tremendous amount of whiffs. Like he just doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. The four-seamer actually has a 27% whiff rate, which is pretty good for a four-seamer, but it's not great. It's not elite. It's a four-seam cutter slider, so it's a little different look than the Mariners have. No sinker here. And it's primarily fastball and cutter. So it is a different look, which I like. Raley, the way the roster is built right now, he's my primary right fielder. So I don't really have interest in trading a everyday most everyday player right now for a middle relief type. If they were to add a couple bats, could you trade Raley for more of a middle reliever? Sure. I think that's a sensible thing to do. Wright has options left. Raley doesn't. So the pieces are all there. Morales, whatever, take it or leave it. I don't really care. He's fine, but he's like a number 5 ceiling type of guy. So just the way the roster's built right now, I wouldn't do this. If a couple other moves happen, I try to get more for Raley, but I think Cruz is a solid middle guy. And there is a little bit of upside here because he does throw so hard, because he does avoid, hard hit balls, but just not a lot of swing and miss. And again, the lower your swing and miss, the more pinpoint control you have to have. And Cruz doesn't have that. The walk rates are just a little too high for the strikeout rate that he produces. Yeah,
I'm more on board with this than the last trade because there's some clay here with Cruz. But yeah, right now, as things currently stand on the roster, I'd rather take the shot on Luke Raley bouncing back. Yeah, that's just going to be more valuable to me.
Yep, agreed.
So I'll go 50 on this. Like, this is fine. Like, if this happened, I would be like, okay, I get it. I see what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'd still be a little annoyed. I feel like because Luke Raley is right now in line to get 450 plate appearances for you next year, and it's really good before injuries kind of derailed his season this year. I'd like to get more than this. So for me, it's more like a 45. But, again, a name that we haven't talked about, a major league for major league swap. We don't see a lot of those. And, on paper, it's fine. Like it makes sense for both teams. So yeah, it's solid, but I'd rather have Raley.
All right, we'll go over more of your trades in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pull up the app and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. Prices include fees up front, which I love because there are no last second surprises at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Gametime. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Mariners with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, it's Fanfiction Friday. Let's get back into your trades. Zach has a deal here with the Detroit Tigers. Will Vest and Wenceel Perez for Luke Raley, Durangelo Sanja, Michael Arroyo, Teddy McGraw, Peete, and the competitive balance round B selection.
That's a lot. I think you'd have to give up a lot for the Tigers to move, particularly Vest. Perez, fine player, but again, he's kind of a part-time player and one that would fit the Mariners pretty well. But yeah, Raley and Perez, they're probably like fine swaps. Like Raley is more of a right-handed hits right-handed pitching. Perez more hits left-handed pitching. Yeah, fine, whatever. I think similar club control as well. Perez might have one more year than him, but fine, whatever. But then it's Sanja, Arroyo, McGraw, Peete, and a competitive balance pick for Will Vest. I would rather just spend less and get a slightly worse pitcher than Will Vest. So, I mean, regardless of how you want to break it down, the Mariners are overpaying here. I'm not saying that it wouldn't take this because, again, the Tigers are probably still the favorite in a very bad Central. And if they hang on to Skubal, we know they can do damage in a 5-game series because he's going to get to start a couple times. And their bullpen's pretty good. And obviously Hinch is a good manager. You guys saw what a problem the Tigers were in a 5-game series. So, yeah, it's probably something like this. Probably not quite this. I think less than this gets the Tigers to the table to talk about these two guys. But if I'm the Mariners, Perez just isn't enough of an upgrade for me. And Vest, I'll just, I would rather go out and trade, Arroyo by himself and just get the best reliever I can than give up all of this just to get Will Vest because, well, Will Vest is a very good reliever. I mean, you're trading.
I mean, he's one of the best high leverage relievers in the game.
Sure, but you're trading 2 top 100 guys for a guy who's not like Mason Miller.
And a comp round
B pick. Yeah, so I think it's just way too much for the Mariners to give up, but I don't know that it's not what the Tigers would ask for, if that makes sense. So I don't know. What do you think? This one's interesting because it is a lot.
Yeah. I don't think Perez needs to be in this deal.
Yeah.
Now, the Mariners do need a better right-handed hitting option off of the bench. And Perez would give them that. He was a 133 WRC plus against lefties this past year. And if I'm not mistaken, he's actually a pretty decent defender as well. Who can play, a couple different spots, including center field. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's someone that because of the club control, because of what that would cost. I don't know if that's someone that I would necessarily circle if if I were the Mariners. I don't know if they necessarily need to go that far for their right-handed hitting option off the bench. I think that balloons the trade return a little too much for me. I would just solely focus on Vest here. And like Senja, Arroyo, comp round B pick, that probably is what it takes to get Vest for 2 years of one of the better high leverage arms of the game. I just like, I don't think that
give up less and get a lesser pitcher.
Yeah, I don't think the Mariners need to shop at that high of a shelf.
No.
But in general, do I think the comp is actually like pretty close? I think so. So
yeah, I'm not interested at that price.
I'll give you a 50 for this one. I wouldn't do it like if I were the Mariners, but
I'm going to go 40.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a lot. And again, if you're going to acquire a platoon player, typically speaking, the one who hits right-handed pitching is significantly more valuable than the one who hits left-handed pitching, because there's just more right-handed pitching than there is left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
And Perez really didn't hit righties at all last year. And he's a fine defender in the outfield, but he's not significantly better than a healthy Luke Raley. So I'm not even really upgrading all that much there. But so, I mean, like, part of this trade is you must really believe Dom Canzone, but not believe Victor Robles at all too. So it's kind of a weird, needle you're threading here. So for me, it's like a 40. This is just a lot. And again, I'm not saying that the Tigers wouldn't ask for 2 top 100s for Will Vest, and maybe even the comp round B selection. That's fine. But if I'm the Mariners, I'm looking at that and I'm going like, look, is Will Vest the best? Is Will Vest the best reliever I can get?
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, he probably is. He's probably the best I would be able to acquire this winter. But would I rather just have those 2 guys, use them to go get a bat, like an everyday bat, and then just get a little bit lesser reliever? Yes, I think I would rather take that route. So I don't think this is a starter for the Mariners. I think it's a no-go. So I'm going to go 40. It's just too heavy, but also it's not so bad that I can't be like, that's ridiculous. The Tigers would never ask for that. They might.
Well, that's why I'm giving it a 50, because I think it's like pretty close. It's creative. I just wouldn't do it. All right, next trade here from Adam. It's Mark Vientos from the Mets to the Mariners for Ben Williamson and Ty Peete. And the idea here, according to Adam, would be for Vientos to primarily DH.
Not a huge fan of Vientos, but obviously the 2024 year kind of looks like an outlier compared to the rest of his career. But there are some legitimate skills here. You can't deny that. And if you're taking him out of the field mostly, then that would probably help his value quite a bit because he is a terrible defender. So it's interesting. It really isn't that much of a cost, to acquire. If that's the asking price, it's really not all that much. I know that there are people out there who like Ty Peete. I know there are people out there who really like Ben Williamson, but they just kind of seem like, Peete, who knows? The upside is still there, but he hasn't produced, and there's some big, holes in his game. Williamson, can he hit? I don't think so. I really don't think he can. And like, even bad Vientos is probably going to end up being a better hitter than Ben Williamson will. And again, like, if Emerson is going to play third base, you don't really have any room for Ben Williamson on the roster. So yeah, it's interesting. You're not giving up a ton. I don't like Vientos all that much. He still swings and misses a lot. The K rates are not terrible, but not great. He doesn't walk a ton. Like, you're pretty much hoping that you have a fix for him and that you're going to deploy that fix in the worst hitter's park in baseball, which is kind of a tough sell. And by the way, Vientos, a lot of power to dead center field and to the gap, right center field gap, and that is not a profile that typically performs that well. But again, the cost here is so low, in my opinion, because I'm not a Williamson guy. And Peete, I like him personally, but like I don't know if he's ever going to sniff the big leagues at this stage. So for this low of a cost, I would do it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I don't know if Williamson does anything for the Mets. So I don't know if the Mets have any incentive to do this either. Yeah. But if Colt wins the third base job and Vientos is the primary DH, that's fine. It's just I hope they did something else at second base. But just in a vacuum, which is kind of how we have to grade trades here, this is fine, even though I don't really love Vientos.
Yeah, it's like the Lenyn Sosa thing where it's not an offensive profile that the Mariners covet. He doesn't get on base. He swings and misses a lot. He chases a lot. He was better in the second half of the season, but he was still getting on base at a sub 300 clip. The Mariners are not going to like that. And I just don't think it's a great fit for the ballpark either. So yeah, I'm not super high on the Vientos idea in general. For this price, fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Williamson guy either. Kind of fallen out of love with Peete as a prospect. So yeah, I mean, if they did this, if they wanted to take the shot, sure. I don't think it would work out though. I have a hard time imagining that.
No, and that's kind of the tricky part there is that like Vientos, I guess again, the good news is that he could stand at first and third on like Cal DH days. So I guess that's helpful, but when I say stand there, I mean literally stand there. I just think you're chasing a guy that isn't actually real. Like 2024 Mark Vientos, particularly second half 2024 Vientos. I just don't think that's who this guy is. And so, but again, because the cost is so low, in my opinion, I would be fine if the Mariners tried something like this. But again, I hope it would be backed up by like Brendan Donovan or Drake Cronenworth or some floor at second base. So I'll give it a 50.
Yeah, I know I keep handing out 50s, but this is another 50 for me. All right, we will go over more of your trades in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment as live spreads and money lines adjust instantly and player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, we talk Seahawks, we talk all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. We were planning on doing our Christmas stream where we exchange gifts today on the Patreon, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel terrible today. You can probably hear it in my voice. So yeah, whatever. Moving on. Fanfiction Friday. Matthew has a deal here with the Yankees. Cole Young and Gabe Spire to the Yankees for Jazz Chisholm and Bryce Cunningham. Bryce Cunningham. That's not a name that we hear that often around these parts. What do you think?
No. I like Jazz Chisholm a lot. I would prefer Jazz Chisholm to Brendan Donovan. I would prefer him to Ketel Marte at the asking price that we know that the Diamondbacks are asking. So I like that quite a bit. As for finding a fit between you and the Yankees, things get dicey. You're both competing for the same thing, right? You're both competing for the American League pennant, and that makes trading with each other difficult, not impossible, but more difficult. Gabe Spire, 4 years of Gabe Spire is worth a good chunk, and we see what lefty relievers are going for now. Matt Strahm today didn't go for all that much, but
that's 1 year.
Strahm,
he's making
1
money.
year. Plus, apparently there was widely known disagreements between the Phillies and Strahm. So it was a bad situation he wanted to get out of. But look at what Ferrer went for. Like Spire is better than Ferrer. He's got 4 years of club control. He's really good. And then Cole Young, I don't know. Like, obviously, Lombard is like the future shortstop for the Yankees, and they still have Volpe right now. So I don't know how much value Cole Young is going to bring to them. So is that enough for Jazz Chisholm and Bryce Cunningham, who's pretty good prospect, by the way? Big time fastball, really good changeup, big dude, throws strikes. He's a solid prospect. He might only be a year away. He's probably in the Senja range, maybe a little bit lower than Senja. So I think as much as I like Jazz, I've been unable to come up with like a really good trade between these two teams. They're just very difficult matches. The Yankees need bullpen help, obviously. It's interesting when you listen to the Yankees speak about Jazz. They say, we're open, like we're willing to listen, and that's kind of makes me think that they would indeed like to trade. Jazz strikes out a little too much, more than you would like, certainly, but he's a good defender. He's a fast base runner, not good, fast. He hits for power. He's a good player. He's a very good player, and it's only a year. I think the whole like attitude issues or whatever, I think that's drastically overblown. So I would like Jazz. I just don't know how you get him. I don't know if this is enough. I don't know. I don't think it's an overpay, but I don't know if it's enough. And I'm not quite sure how to handle Jazz Chisholm trades.
As great of a need as getting an established infield bat is, 4 years of Spire, 6 years of Young for 1 year of Chisholm, and a really nice pitching prospect, don't get me wrong, but a guy that's about a couple years away. Does that make a whole lot of sense for the Mariners right now?
I mean, would you do this for Ketel Marte? Does that make you better in 2026?
I mean, but also I'm getting Marte for multiple years.
Is that a good thing though, Ty?
Yeah.
The Mariners don't think so. They have to pay all that money, But yeah, I don't know. Like, I really like Jazz. There was another similar trade. We had a couple Jazz trades. I try not to do two of the same player. It had like Brent Hedrick, I think is his name, who's a lefty reliever who has club control. He would instead of Cunningham. So maybe that is a way there. But again, I don't know how the Yankees are going to view Cole Young. I don't know if they view him as the replacement or if he's just a prospect. I don't know what they're looking for. Like Cole Young for Bryce Cunningham probably makes sense. I mean, not really for the Mariners, but like just in a vacuum, that probably makes sense. And then it's 4 years of Spire for 1 year of a 4, maybe even 5 win second baseman. How do you kind of balance that? And then obviously Jazz is making quite a bit of money and Gabe Spire isn't. So now you have less money to go out and replace Gabe Spire, which you kind of have to do. And you still have to go out and get a bullpen arm. You still have to go out and get, kind of that platoon bat, at least a bench bat as well. So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces here. But I would like the Mariners to very seriously, discuss Jazz Chisholm with the Yankees, because I do feel like he's a very good fit that, I would rather have than Donovan personally. Yeah. So yeah, interesting to see what happens there. It's such a tough deal to grade. I'm going to give it a 45, but I'm mostly just like hedging my bets.
Yeah, I'm going to go 40, 45, somewhere there. All right, last trade of the day comes from Scott. Mariners get Nico Hoerner. Cubs get Cole Young and Teddy McGraw. I don't know if the Cubs would do this. That's my initial thought. It's just I don't know if the Cubs would do this.
Well, because the Cubs aren't better in 2026 if they do this trade. They're better in the long run, sure. Now, again, if they trade or they acquire like Bregman or Gino to play third base, then moving Shaw to second base gives them that. They also have Triantos coming up here pretty soon. He was so bad though in the minors this year. Yeah, but whatever. So yeah, as things stand right now, I don't think they would do this just because they're not better in 2026. And Hoerner is such a, valuable guy, and he's such a popular guy that I think this would be a really hard sell for the Cubs. But if they got like Bregman to kind of replace Nico in value, then maybe But then again, like, okay, if Bregman's there for the long term, then Shaw's going to play second for the long term because Dansby's not going anywhere. And then Cole Young doesn't make a lot of sense for them unless one of you, Cole Young is a left fielder, but that again doesn't help them in 2026. So ultimately, I just don't think, like, in a vacuum, 6 years of Cole Young, whose ceiling is kind of Nico Hoerner, like in terms of value, I think that's probably fine. But when you apply it to the reality of the situation where these two teams are, I think it's highly unlikely that a deal like this makes really any sense for the Cubs. And it's just so anti-Mariners to make a move like this.
Yeah.
Again, obviously caveat, they did a lot of things that we hadn't seen them do before in the last.
But this is another step even over that.
This is 6 years, maybe even still 7 years, depending on how they, finagle with the service time here, if they do. A guy that they think is going to be a 3.5, 4-win second baseman with a floor of a 2-win second baseman. You're going to trade all of that for 1 year of a guy.
Yeah. No matter how much they love Nico Hoerner.
Right. And they do. To be clear,
they love him. Yeah.
Yes. But it's just, I don't think this works. Because, like, any way you want to slice it to make, if Nico becomes available, it's because, they signed somebody that pushes Shaw to second, and then they don't need a second baseman. And if they don't sign a third baseman, well, then they're not going to dip from Nico to Cole Young this year because Nico's significantly better and he's not making that much money. And, they're still trying to win the Central, even though they're not after Kyle Tucker for some reason. But so I just think there's too many like holes in this when you take it out of the vacuum. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, valuation wise, I think it's fine. I just think it's when you combine
I just
all the outside factors.
I just don't think it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
For both sides. So yeah.
40, 45.
Yeah. Yeah. 40. Yeah. Cause it doesn't really get the uniqueness boost because we've talked about similar trades in the past. Yeah. All right. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.